Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my patch 9.5 patch note rundown. So I had to re-record this because my VOD got muted. So the first couple minutes of this will have a choppy jump, but it wasn't that much, so it shouldn't be a big deal. We didn't get off any of the first impressions. Everything's good to go. Anyways, welcome back to my patch rundown. The thing about patch rundowns recently is that you'll start to see a lot of them you'll start to know the information before you start reading the patch. Not even if you are actively scouring the PBE notes. It's more like if you follow certain writers on Twitter, they tend to preview what they're changing in the future patches with visual graphs, which are really nice. And so in this situation, I kind of knew a little bit of what they were doing. Obviously, they're doing Kiel Morgana here and Conquer as well. I just didn't know exactly what they were doing with them. Anyways, let's keep going. What do they want to do with here? We welcome our new updated Seraphim sisters. Okay, the two angels. Not too much crazy this patch. We're following up with champions like Akali, Sylas, Tuni, and Conquer. We're throwing a bone to Vi mains. They get past at Scarra Spires. There are a couple of other champions we're monitoring doing their reliance to Conquer. But until those changes, the rune said that we won't be taking any immediate action. Also, we're going to nerf Ezreal 9.6. Still designing it via double tier or Ezreal directly, but one way or the other Ezreal nerfs. Okay, let me talk about this because I'm like somewhat upset about this. So way back in 9.3 or 9.4, Riot was like, hey, we're introducing crit changes and we want to nerf Ezreal and Lucian because they're gonna be very they're very strong ADs and they need to be nerfed. And everyone's like, no, they're the only good ADs in the game. All the other ADs suck. When you put these AD items into the game, these crit ADs are gonna feel so good about themselves and they're gonna be way better. Don't do changes prematurely. It's a stupid idea. And Riot reverted the changes. And I just want to say, that's one of the times where I felt like Riot listening to community was terrible for the game. So we had to go through 2 or 3 more patches of Ezreal being really powerful. Potentially like one of the most broken ADs in the game. Super hard to deal with. As well as Lucian just being incredibly powerful. And in fact, both of these ADs tend to like kind of oppress out even crit ADs, even though our other ADs even crit ADs. And so it's just one of the things that really annoyed me when I saw that way back when, and I was like, they shouldn't be doing this. I've reiterated it on pretty much every patch note rundown I've done and my general thoughts, but like they had the right idea in the first place. I give Riot props. They had the right idea. They just listened too much to the community. It really happens. Not a big deal. Ezreal should have been nerfed way before this. Let's be real. Let's keep going. So I talked a little bit about Kiel Morgana at the very my last first impressions on stream. I want to say that I don't know how Kiel's gonna do. I didn't play her in PB. I've heard she's really weak early, but at level 16 she's like God, pretty much goddess, best champion in the game. I've heard kind of stuff. Is insane champion. So whether or not she can get there, TBD. Morgana, nothing really changed about her visually. She has legs now, and I guess that's really nice, you know, for some people. And I think that the quality of life buff that she got with her ulti, where she moves faster toward people who are chained, really nice for her, especially going mid to late game. So really nice stuff for Morgana. Not sure about Kayle, would have to play her. Let's move on to the starting of the meat of the matter, Akali. So they broke her kneecaps in 9.3 for good reason. She was super busted, really hard to deal with, and most of what made her hard to deal with was her healing. So her healing was super annoying, and really just like hard to work around. The thing is, it's like I don't necessarily know if they could have toned it down, but they just straight removed it. Which obviously part of Akali's biggest problem is getting out of lane, and so healing directly makes her able to do that. Removing a large part of her ability to lane, pretty hard for her to be a good champion if she can't get out of lane. Everything revolves around laning phase right now and early game. If you can't do that like at a decent level, you're not going to be very good. And so what did they decide to bring back? Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so they're going to bring her back up. So what part of the raid that they're going to bring her back up is her passive, increasing her movement speed on her ring and outside ring duration. This is really great. So Akali is one of those assassins that uses like her fast mobility to walk in, take a trade, walk out, walk back in, take a trade, walk out. Almost doubling the passive duration. Move speed, really nice. Really good buff for her. The stealth buff on turrets is really nice as well. The Pika booth right here, Akali only needs to exit and re-enter a shot once to extend the shot's duration by a maximum of 3 seconds, rather than extending it by 0.5 seconds 6 times. I think this is kind of strange. I think this kind of lowers her skill expression, and I don't like this. So I can understand going back and forth in her shroud 6 times to min-max her Twilight Shroud isn't feasible most of the times, and it's probably really, really annoying for 99% of the player base to try to min-max. That's cool, I understand. But having her leave and re-enter shroud once to extend it 3 more seconds, the maximum duration seems not ideal. You want to give players the ability to express their skill. I would have been much happier to see it go down to a maximum of 1 second every 3 times you go back in, or even half that, right? You can go back in twice, and you can 1.5 seconds each time you go back in. I think that's a great middle ground. I think doing it this way just kind of removes, obviously it's a straight buff, but it kind of removes a little bit of her skill expression, which I'm not really a big fan of. Her E got a base damage buff of 10 to 30 on the first initial cast, and a nerf of 10 across the board. Not going to be that big of a deal. You can use the last hit better. I guess you can harass a little bit better with it too. Doesn't seem very important. Her ulti getting cooldown, super good. So she's a champion where, like, obviously her healing nerfs made it harder to get to level 6, but at level 6 to 9, that's also a difficult time for you because you're waiting before Gunblade to start healing, and you have this really, really long 2-minute cooldown ulti. Lowering 20 seconds allows her early and mid game ultis for her to trade aggressively and maybe use multiple and be able to plan around like flash timers better. Like, we're gonna use the first ulti to get the flash and the second ulti to get the kill. You know, and I don't think Akali should be as limited that way, especially after her nerfs to her healing. I think buffing the ulti cooldown, really, really good idea by Riot to be able to put more power back into her kit around like the early mid game once she hits ulti to her level 2. Miko, E-root adjusted. Okay, let's talk about Miko right now. This champion, I'm pretty sure, is very close to being borderline OP. And I think a lot of it is due to the fact that due to a long time ago, they made it so you can push towers easier. If you're an AP champion, they increase the damage you do to the towers off AP. And the fact that her W does damage to towers is actually crazy. It doesn't matter what build you build, whether you're going on hit or you're going full AP. She gets a lot of... the way that I see it is that she just gets a lot of pushing power, and she's not Ziggs. So Ziggs' kit is adjusted for him being a strong pusher, but it feels like Miko wasn't. And you might ask me, like, why it takes so long for this to be found out. Well, from what I understand, her highest win rate was always PTA top lane with on hit. But the thing is, they broke her W 3 patches in a row, so it's really hard for you to be able to consistently play Miko because they broke her W on tower literally 3 times, and they said they fixed it in the patch and it broke anyways. And then they broke in a different way the next patch. And so, or the patch before. And so it took a while for people to be able to actually start playing this champion more. You see this champion in pro play in a bunch of different servers, both in LCK and in NA. And so I think that her power needs to be really, really, like, she needs to be looked at for sure. For sure. She's kind of a weird champion in the sense that Miko is just Lux. A better laning Lux. But her ulti is really awkward to use because it essentially promotes anti-dive, and it's hard to set up. But it's got a short cooldown, so it's got some benefits to it, and it does a lot of damage. I think she does need some help on her full AP build for sure, but I think any adjustment for her AP / on hit build or her on hit build just makes her really, really, really dangerous. Like, something that you should be kind of monitoring over the next patch or two is just how strong she's going to be. Now, what did they do? They made it so the conditions for Nico root were a bit complicated. What the? I didn't even know this about Nico. Okay, I thought it was if you hit 2 units and then the champion, you got an insane root. But I also didn't know that it was 0.5, except the last champion hit is to 1.5. And then there's more. Okay. Well, it pretty much now is 0.5 the first enemy hit, 0.3 up to 3 seconds on the second. So you don't need to hit 2, you only need to hit 1. No longer disarms enemies, that's cool. But the second part is super important. It makes it so A lot of times when I have to position in lane with Miko, I have to go. You have to position between 2 creeps if you want the full CC duration. And to be honest, it's really telegraphed. Most of the times if I get these like 3-second, 2-second roots, it's because the other player doesn't know what they're doing. It's not because I'm playing well. And as I play against players who are better and better against Nico, it's going to be harder and harder for me to be able to get this root. Now that there's only a 1 creep necessity on this, it's like I'm playing Lux. Like her E is essentially Lux E, right? That can go through minions. So you want to just keep kind of positioning around. Maybe Lux is not a good example. Nah, I mean, it's close enough. But now your positioning it can be a lot easier. Like having to play around just 1 route means you have a lot more angles to work with. And so I really like the buff for AP, but she's a dangerous champion. Rai should be very, very careful about this champion. More than likely, what's going to happen is they're going to have to reduce her W damage to towers in the future patch. I'm almost positive that's what they're going to have to do. But the buff is really nice. Let's keep going. Recon. So this champion got it. All right, Recon got nerfed like 1 or 2 patches ago, and I was so thankful because I think Recon, alongside stuff like Zoe, it's like ever since Recon got released, they made these champions that were super stupid to play against. Pretty much, like they released Recon, they released Zoe, they released Aurelia, they released. It was like a consecutive champions and champion reworks that were just like utterly just straight ridiculous to play against. And it all started from this. So what Recon does is it enables guaranteed engage that's uncounterable, pretty much. Even you can't react fast enough to the prediction pre-nerf to be able to like flash or any of that. Like, and you could tell by just watching all these pro games where like essentially Recon is a guaranteed I win button for initiating team fights. And I thought that was insane. They needed to nerf the speed 100%. But nerfing this, but his balance was built around the speed that it was at originally. So I thought they were gonna buff base stats so he could be a better laner to trade off for the fact that he lost a lot of movement speed. So what did they do instead? They increased the base damage by 20 and the dash speed by 100. Okay, so they gave it back a little bit of its dash speed and a little bit of damage. I think that's okay. I don't necessarily know too much about Recon. I don't play him very much. I just think from an outsider point of view who watches competitive games plus plays against Recon that his speed was too powerful and now I never see him. So there's got to be a middle ground where you can kind of find hopefully a spot where he's not like uncounterable, but he's also a champion that like is playable. And I think that like probably between like they nerfed it from like what 1800 to 1400 about. Probably around 1500 is the speed that you want it to be at. So I think small changes like this going upwards are a great way to balance this champion. Worst case scenario, they need to increase the speed by another 50 to 100 next patch, right? Worst case scenario. But this is a good way to like kind of determine like, is it enough? I like it. We're good. Let's keep going. Although I did expect more base damage buffs or base stat buffs to be able to help him through laning, because that is one of his hardest moments. So I expected that over this, but I guess this is not a bad way to do it. Scarra. Okay, so what are they doing? Spire radius increase. Red buff Spire now covers Krugs and Raptors on both sides of the map. Spire is removed from the minimap. We're moving Scarra's red Spire buff to be both Krugs and Raptors. Oh, that's nice. Gives him more options in the jungle pathing? Yes. Help with clear out all 3 monster camps? Yes. With this Spire now closer to Krugs and Raptors, it'll also be harder to steal it from him to how deeper it'll be in the enemy's jungle. Oh, okay. Removing the Spires from the minimap so counter jungling attempts aren't so obvious to the enemy team. Wow, Spire radius got increased by a lot. You can do more. This is actually really nice buff. Holy shit. He's able to farm 1 more whole camp complete well. He moves through his jungle a lot quicker. He's perma Mobies pretty much on Spires, and he regens mana as well, right, on these Spires. So this is like, I don't like the Spire minigame in the first place, but having this and removing them from the minimap makes it so that like you can probably, it's actually really nice. I like it. It's a way to buff Scarra that doesn't deal with numbers, but helps him a lot quality of life wise. This is really good. Yeah, his Captain Flower is definitely pulling some strings behind the scenes, you know. All right, let's keep going. Vi. Someone at Riot loves Vi. I don't know who it is. How does this champion see buffs every patch? I'm just gonna say, I play Veigar. I play champions like Veigar, Ziggs. I don't know who it is. This champion is getting so many buffs. At some point, this champ has to be good. I swear to God. Okay, so let's go look. Attack speed growth decrease, passive cooldown increase. W now reduces it. Q damage ratio. Okay, my eyes are glazing over. Let's read what they wanted to do. It's overlooked as a viable jungle pick for some time now. To help Vi compete with her peers, we're adjusting her Q and R to do equal damage to everything she hits. Powering up her team fights is speeding up her jungle clear. To balance these changes, she's getting nerfed in some ways. The overall outcome should be stronger and more impactful Vi. Okay. Attack speed growth decrease. Strange. I think a lot of her ability to take camps really quickly comes from the fact that she has great attack speed growth. Anyways, let's keep going. Passive blast shield. So it goes up by 4 seconds, so she gets less sustain, but she gets more max health. So tankier builds are better on her. Okay, cool. Keep going. Vault Breaker. No longer deals 25% reduced damage to non-jungle. Really? So she's able to clear the jungle better with Q max, which is nice. But there's less bonus AD ratio, so it's worse in skirmishes. Okay. Denting blows. She gets 10% more. It scales up, so she gets no benefit level 1. Blast shield's cooldown now reduced by 3 seconds whenever. What? So the longer she could stick on units, even when clearing, she gets more sustain. This is really interesting. Okay. The weird thing right now that I'm seeing is that she wants to go 3 different things, right? This encourages you to go attack speed somewhat. This encourages you to go, her bonus AD ratio encourages you to go AD, and her passive encourages you to go health. And nothing gives you all 3. It's just something of note. I'm just gonna keep going. Damage cone can now critically strike. Really? Why does that matter? Who's building crit on Vi? Oh, it's for Triforce. Okay, I could see. 1.0, a total AD damage, 0.9 AP. Why is there AP ratio? Why does that matter? Why did they even think about buffing it? Why didn't... What? Okay, she lost 0.05 total AD. Sure. Assault and battery increased. Really? That's such a bit. Really? They nerfed it by 20 seconds late game, 15 seconds mid game. Did Vi feel like an impressive jungler? For me, Vi's only redeeming quality was her ulti, and if she can't ulti as much as she can, she doesn't have map presence. Okay. Damage goes, and she loses 0.3 AD. What? So she lost 0.3 here, 0.2, 0.5 bonus AD. And then it slightly knocks her back more. What? These are such weird changes. I get what you kind of wanted to do. You want to promote by staying on the champion more. I'm gonna be honest, her kit doesn't allow her to do that. So like this passive is like not able to be used, because when you're playing against stuff like without a gap closer after your initial hit, you're only gonna be proccing this like twice max, even in skirmishes. So these 2 things essentially help her jungle better to some extent. But remember how we talked about you needing 3 different stats for the champion? I think if the notion was that you're gonna go away from AD, which is crazy, by the way. This champion is entirely built off you grabbing a shitload of AD and just one-shotting people with her Q. That's how I feel. Like, right? She had a 1.6 ratio, 1.15 total AD, and 1.4 bonus AD ratio. Like, what? No other champion do I think of with those ratios do I scream like this guy goes flat AP or AD and just crushes people, right? And her normal build is what? Warrior. It's like Warrior, Swifty Boots, Triforce, Youmu's. I've seen GA. Like, I've seen a lot of different builds around that. Now I feel like they're pushing it more toward potentially a hybrid AD, potentially health, potentially attack speed. But she's losing her attack speed growth here, which is really strange. So I don't know if they're pushing for like a more CDR oriented cleaver build, but I don't know. I think I can't even tell. Like, and my eye test is really weird because I don't play this champion at all. And the only person that plays this champion is actually Metroid. I'm gonna be honest. I queue up for Diamond, and if I see a Vi on the other team, this is what I know. 1, it's going to be Metroid. 2, I'm warding my Dragon from level 3 to level 6. And the entire game, because he's gonna be there within levels 3 to 6 every fucking game. No doubt in my mind. So, I don't have a great eyeball test on these changes. My initial thoughts are, if they just deleted the ulti change, like, they wanted to reduce more guaranteed damage. But it's like so strange because they're changing so much. I don't even know how they can tell what's working or what's not. So you want to take off more guaranteed damage off the bonus AD, fine. Keep the ulti cooldown, keep the attack speed growth, and then implement everything else. And then kind of see how the game develops. And if she's too strong, then I think it's okay to reevaluate. But at the moment, I don't know how you put these changes in the game and judge this change is what made Vi better or worse. Because you're essentially changing, like, you're adding a ton of different variables to be able to test. And I don't know how any of the stats you're going to get back, you're going to be able to tell it was this problem. Maybe the ult increased knockback is pretty nice. Like, I think this is pretty nice as well. But, yeah. I see this as them trying to make her be a little tankier. Maybe incorporate cleaver-oriented builds. I'm not sure. You know, again, I can't eyeball test this champion because no one plays her and I don't play her. But my initial thoughts are that they're changing so many things, it's going to be hard to balance her if she's not perfectly balanced when this goes in. All I'm going to say about it. Let's go. Lucian audio updates. Clear updates on basic attacks? Sure. I'm not going to read that. Relic shield line. Healing decreased. They're just making it heal less. Generally speaking. Okay. That's reasonable. I kind of agree that tank supports are too strong right now. But they're increasing the healing on the full upgrade by quite a bit. But this doesn't really matter, right? Because when you're running this Relic Shield line, you will always, as a melee champion, always go for the last upgrade. Especially in competitive, because you need the forwards. And especially because it seems like they're targeting competitive / higher levels of play. Alright, they just generally wanted to be nerfed down, and I get it. Cool. Storm Razor. Given that Storm Raider's update shifted from rush on late, we aired on the side of undershooting its power to make sure it's clearly a less attractive first item to buy, but now it's too weak. We're buffing it. I've never seen this item in my games. I think there's some times where I should see this item. If you're looking for pure like fleet champions that are going crit itemization anyways, this should be a valuable 4th, 5th, 6th item. And I never see it. The first thing that stands out to me is Caitlyn should be buying this item. With Rapid Fire, Stormraiser, she should be, and Fleet, she should be wanting this item, but I never see anyone buy it. So I think they did undershoot it. I will say though, this increasing the range of Rapid Fire is disgusting. And if it is overtuned, it's going to be annoying to play against. But I think this is fine. Stormraiser in place of Lifesteal, yeah, when you're running Fleet, it increases the effectiveness of Fleet as well. So essentially, you already have Lifesteal if you're running Fleet. So you don't need it. Let's keep going. Aftershock. Bug fixing Aftershock's resist duration to what the tooltip says. You're getting 0.5 seconds less of it, and it's been bugged for so many patches. You know what? I'm happy for any Aftershock nerfs. Cool. Great. I'll take it. I wish it was a little bit more, but you know what? 2.5 seconds, it's okay. Let's keep going. Conquer. We have to fix Conquer in the last patch, decreasing the range stack duration, but it was still too strong, especially mid to late game with its new stacking model. Champions can stack, leading to proc late game scenarios that were actually triggered faster than the previous iterations of Conquer, playing at some of Conquer's late game strength while retaining the more core true damage and healing conversion. Okay, so let me see what they nerfed it originally. It was originally at 75 adaptive force, and now it goes to 30. Is that right? Woo! That is a. They have the damage. They more than have the damage. Holy shit. Yeah, the thing is, Conquer is really broken for edge case characters. When we're looking at champions like Riven who can proc Conquer a lot, and like Aurelia, like these champions live or die on Conquer a lot of times. And that so here's what happens. Some characters in the game need Conquer to actually function in mid to late game scenarios. And then those characters aren't the problem. But the thing about the Keystone system and the Rune system in general is that you don't balance around those characters. You balance around the people who are really, really large outliers. When you put in stuff like, I don't know, a Keystone that works on crit, all of a sudden Tryndamere and Yasuo are just naturally going to be better at those Keystones than anyone else, right? And the same thing with Conquer. Champions that can abuse a lot of procs of Conquer, stack it really quickly, or are going to be the best performing ones. And they're going to be the outliers, and you have to balance around them. So every time they adjust a new Keystone like this, they have to hotfix for those super broken outliers. Which is why the Rune system is really difficult to work around. Like, really difficult to balance. Honestly, I haven't used enough Conquer to say how strong it is mid to late game. I know it's pretty good, especially when you're playing stuff like Riven. And so I'm not surprised to see this nerf. I am, however, sad because I think this does affect a lot of other non-Riven champions more than anything else. Like, Riven will still be fine. But other champions that maybe needed a 50 stack adaptive force are not going to be very happy. Okay. For me, I think this kind of throws Conqueror Silas out the window. I don't think he's very good anymore. Sorry, that's random aside. Let's keep going. Cut down. Making it more competitive with Coup and Last Stand. 5 to 12%. You know, actually, at some point it's going to be good. The one thing I have to say with Q is, why does it give you adaptive damage on takedowns? Like, that's just super random. At least in my opinion. Like, if you want it to be competitive, if you remove that, I'll consider the other two. But, yeah. Everyone goes the first. I'll be honest. Alright, let's keep going. Cho could use a little bit more help early on. Maxing will help him trade more meaningfully. He gets 2 to 10 more damage. And you get 3 autos of Whirlpool Spikes, so it's 6 to 30 more damage. That's pretty good, honestly. I don't think Cho's... the thing is, I think Cho's a champion that's actually pretty good right now, but no one plays him. So it's hard for me to evaluate how good he is. This buff will probably help out. I don't doubt he'll be super OP with it. Mundo, magic resist increase. Okay, they go to 42% magic. Wow, that's really nice. I do think Mundo should be an MR tank. So if you're playing like, he needs to have a reason to exist outside of you really like to heal for a lot. Yeah, and because he doesn't really provide like strong initiation, his champion moves quickly and is a beefy body. So a reason you want to play him has to exist, and I think the reasoning for it to be against an anti-magic team comp is a good reason to put him in the game. All right, I like it. Not that bad. I don't see much of him. I think he deserves something like this. Gameplay. Evo's damage to champions increased. R damage per wave increased. So he got nerfed really hard with no Stormrazor, right? I can understand why he needs a little bit more damage, especially early. 20 more damage, and he gets more ulti damage. I mean, I guess it's nice. The ulti damage doesn't super matter, I feel. It's like very small. Like if I was a gameplay player, I'd look for more like mana regen or mana focus stuff because that's where he's hurting the most. Like the biggest thing about Gameplay ulti now is the fact that when you steal it as Silas, it's gonna be better. As opposed to like anything else, right? I will say the powder keg buff was probably really good. You're using a ton of those in lane, right? But like he has bigger problems than his ulti damage. Let's keep going. Graves base AD increased. He gave him 380 back. We laughed at the 380 decrease. I don't think this champion should get that many buffs. I am really hesitant to touch Graves. This is a champion where it's like, if he is strong, he will oppress every jungler in the game. Or almost every jungler in the game. Because he is a ranged jungler that fully sustains his jungle route. Full clears the jungle. And can skirmish and out skirmish most champions and scales really well. So for me, I just think like Graves is, you need to be very careful about buffing this champ. I'd much rather see like an Amumu buff or like, I don't know. What else is a really shitty jungler? AD Shyvana buff would be nice. A Volibear Fiddlesticks buff, anything, you know? But buffing this guy just seems like, come on, dude. Why does he need to be a top tier jungler? Right now he's above average, and there's a lot of average to below average champions, and that will get pushed out if this champion's good. I'm very hesitant to ever touch this champion. If you're talking about oppressive champions who tend to push down other picks, Graves is at the very top of the list for jungle. Anyways, 3, it should be okay, but be very careful buffing that champ. Jhin, cute attack damage increase. We're giving the dancing grenade a little fortismo. This is such I don't know what that means, but that's okay. Since it's an integral part of his damage pattern, they increased his total AD ratio by 0.05. Obviously, if you hit with the end, you get a little bit. Alright, sure. He gets a small buff. I think he can use a little bit of buff. I don't think this will change anything, but I guess if you hit a fourth stack dancing grenade, it might do more damage. Cool. Nunu and Willup help decrease Q healing decreased. I personally hate this champion in solo queue. I don't necessarily think he's that good and competitive, but I don't necessarily know if he even deserves nerfs, but I'm happy personally to see it because I banned this champion right after Rek'Sai because he's really obnoxious to play against. So, you know what? I'm happy to see it, but not sure if he actually deserves that many nerfs. Tryndamere, passive crit cap chance cap increased. Wait, Oh, they just buffed him? He goes from 35 to 50? I guess that's not bad. You only need to buy like 2 crit items. Really random buffs, I'm gonna be honest. When we talk about top lane picks that will strangle out other picks, or champions that will oppress other picks in the role, Tryndamere is really like a big stat check similar to Jax. So if you get to the point where like you buff him too much, like you have to be really, really careful. This seems fine, I guess, but really surprised. Hating tank Silas build. Okay, so his heal now goes down 30. You know what? I fully approve of this. So I think the biggest problem with Silas is the fact that you can go tank, row a tank, and be good. And he functions similarly to like old Echo, where you just build like tankiness. And I think the best thing to do that, drop the base damage, increase the AP ratios. Really good way. I think his AP form isn't necessarily that hard to deal with. When you have to balance, like if you're not tanky, you can just get exploded off 1 CC, especially mid to late game. And so I like this a lot. I think this is a good way to take it. And I prefer to go full AP anyways, so I'll take it. Yorick. Main damage and mark proc damage decreased. Yorick and his living maiden have been attached to hip since 9.2, and the collective damage is causing trouble for everyone. We're rating the maiden in a little so the pair went together a little weaker. Okay, so they decreased the damage by 10 early. And oh, okay, this is really big. They made it so you do less mark damage, especially early. 2% less is a lot. I think Yorick was pretty busted. I'm not gonna lie. Really annoying champion to play against, and they made him really powerful with the quality of life buff to the ulti. I think the only natural case or natural thing to do after that is to lower the damage a little bit on his ulti. Still gonna be a good champion in my opinion. This doesn't really change much, except for the really early trades, but I like it. Rek'Sai, fix the bug where R can do damage twice. Oh, it's okay. Sure. So they essentially put this in to say we're keeping an eye on Rek'Sai because she's broken. Got it. But they already fixed it. Hot fixed it already. Got it. She's potentially broken. Sorry. A Earth. Holy shit! That's a lot of changes. Okay. We have cool ass skin, by the way. Really cool brand skin. And we have my skins. Okay. Well, I don't really play much AERF, so I have not much to comment about. Everything else in this patch, I'm pretty on board with. I do think, like, I'm really happy to see buffs to Scarra, rebuffs to Recon. I'm personally happy to see a Miko and a Kayle buffs, even if they mean I like playing Miko now, but it may be a little bit obnoxious in the future. They didn't really nerf that much this patch if you look around. Like they buffed a lot of champions and a lot of weaker struggling champions. And so this is something that Riot gets kind of noted, like looked at a lot. It's like they nerf but never buff too much. Really, the biggest nerf this patch was York and Nunu. Nunu over everything else, right? And so I don't mind it. I would prefer obviously more buffs to weaker champions, but I am happy to see at least them doing a lot. I'm really happy to see the Aftershock there, even if it's just a bug fix. Thank God. All right. Yes, marks the end of my patch rundown.